Trina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So happy you joined me today as I am making a Thinking of You card. Now this card has beautiful sunflowers from Connie Fong, and the digi is actually called Sunflower in a Pot. And the sentiment is from Daisy Carrot Bunny Bouquet, also from Connie Fong. I've already pre-colored these with Copic Markers, and I've cut all of my pieces of paper. So we're pretty much ready to put this card together. Now my paper is from Victoria Design, and that yellow piece is from DeCasse's Dynamite Doodles. Then of course I have just a plain white card blank. I'm going to start by inking the edges of all of these colored pieces of cardstock. Watching that is almost as exciting as watching the grass grow. So I sped this up quite a bit. Basically, I just use a sponge, put a little ink on it, and then rub it on the edges. Here, I'm actually just sliding it across so it's really dark red. I'm going to go ahead and start laying my card out here. And I want to start out by just sort of putting my layers together. Then once I have my layers together, then I'll assemble the card. Now, when I put this red piece onto the blue, there was something about that blue cardstock that once I put ink on it, my ATG gun could not get that tape to stick on there. It just kept rolling up on me. So I end up getting out my fabric tack and just using that. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to fight with this. I've got plenty of glue. I love fabric tack glue, and I have a lot of it. I'm just going to grab a bottle and use it. I'm not going to fight the ATG gun. So I'm really not sure why that happens. But sometimes when I ink certain cardstocks, the tape just won't stick to it. And this was one of those cases. Now, this piece of cardstock that I printed, as you can see, even though I went around with the ink, it still is adhering beautifully. So I'm sure there's a scientific reason for that. I just don't know it. Now, what I'm showing you there is that I put this off a little off kilter. I put it up and to the right, and I did that intentionally because of the way I want my sunflower to fit on the card. The sentiment I'm putting on this blue background, and if you're thinking, wait, that isn't the way it looked before, you're right. I trimmed that blue piece down just a little bit. There we are. Now you can see that I've got that sunflower off to the left, and I want it to hang off of the red mat just slightly. I think it just gives it a little bit of eye appeal when we do that. So what I did there is I just sort of eyeballed where I wanted that to go. Put a little bit of the tape runner on, and then some fabric tack over that. And I'm going to try my best to place it really close to where I had it before. And I'll tell you, I did rewind this and look and see if I did have it close. And I really was pretty close. I was kind of amazed. All right. So anyway, here comes the beautiful flower from Connie Fong. And I just used a little fabric tack on that and stuck it on. And I found this embroidery floss that I liked, the color. I felt like it matched my color scheme pretty well. I am wrapping it twice to create an X. And I want the X to come together over the stem of this little sunflower. I also want the pieces of embroidery floss to go underneath the leaves. So I sort of had to manipulate that a little bit, but it wasn't that hard. I grabbed some scissors, clipped it off, and now in order to get that to cross right over the stem, I just took my embroidery floss, took one piece of it, put it underneath the other string, and this is where I will tie my knot, and that will put it right over the stem. Now, you'd think that tying a knot would be really easy, wouldn't you? Not when you're filming. For some reason, you start that camera and everything goes a little crazy. And it seems like when I work with embroidery floss, that's the thing that goes crazy for me usually, is tying a simple knot. I'm not quite sure why, but it does. All right, so let's go to something easier, like a bow, right? Okay, so here's my little bow, and I'm not going to glue that on yet, but I am going to get it ready and set it aside. First, I'm going to go ahead and add my card front to my card base. Sometimes when you work with twine or embroidery floss, this string or embroidery floss or whatever embellishment you choose to use there will sometimes kind of pop up through the paper. So I decided I'm just going to use a little cereal box and put on the back and leave it with gaps. And then when I put this on my card front, the whole piece pops up and that embroidery floss just sits in there. So it's not putting any pressure on the card front at all. I'm going to use a little bit of my fabric tack and just glue that into place. And you notice I glued the little bow in. I'm going to pick up those 3 blooms, bring them in, and just glue them into place. And this was a pretty simple card because guess what? We're bringing the gems out, and if you watch many of my videos, you know when the gems come out, the video's just about over. So, yes, here we are at the end of this project. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a fun card to make. I loved these colors. They're late summer, fall colors, and I just love them. Hey, any questions, comments, leave them in the box below. I'm always happy to hear from you, and I'll leave information for you down there also. Thanks again for joining me. I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.